Please subscribe to this channel and support us so we can post new sci-fi stories every day. Your support keeps us going. The moon of Kepler 4/4c hung like a broken skull against the void. Its cratered surface, scarred by weeks of relentless bombardment. Trenches zigzagged across the barren landscape like infected wounds, carved deep into the regolith by desperate human hands. The air tasted of copper and ozone, thick with the metallic temps of spilled blood and discharged plasma. Private Marcus Webb crouched in Trench 7, watching the last of his unit's hover transports disappear into the smoke-choked horizon. His hands trembled as he gripped his standard-issue rifle. The coffee stain on his uniform sleeve, a memento from that morning's hasty breakfast now, seeming absurdly trivial. The retreat had been swift, brutal, necessary. The Keth'var assault had shattered their defensive line like glass against stone. "Hold this position until relief arrives," Sergeant Morrison had shouted over the screaming engines. 48 hours, maximum. Now Webb was alone with nothing but shadows and the distant rumble of alien war machines. He pressed his back against the trench wall, feeling the cold seep through his body armor. Above him, the alien mothership blotted out the stars, a predatory silhouette that made his stomach clench with primal fear. 3 kilometers away, War Commander Keth'var studied the human positions through his tactical visor. The chitinous plates of his exoskeleton clicked rhythmically as he paced, a habit that unnerved even his own troops. His species, the Keth'var, had conquered 17 worlds in the past decade. Humans had proven disappointing. The vermin scatter like insects, he hissed to his subordinate, Lieutenant Vashka. Their defensive line crumbles at the first taste of true warfare. Observe Trench 7 remains manned by a single pathetic creature. Vashka's compound eyes gleamed with predatory hunger. "Shall I dispatch a cleaning unit, War Commander?" "No." Keth'var's mandibles clicked with amusement. "Let the human sit in his hole. When dawn comes, we will show him what happens to those who dare oppose the Keth'var Empire. Order the assault troops to rest. Tomorrow, we feast on human terror." As alien laughter echoed across the battlefield, Webb tried to steady his breathing. His hands moved with muscle memory, checking his equipment, counting ammunition clips, testing the jury-rigged proximity sensors he'd cobbled together from spare units. During basic training, the other cadets had mocked his clumsiness. Webb, the coffee spiller. Webb the fumbler. Webb, who couldn't march in formation without tripping over his own boots. But Webb had always been good at one thing: improvising. While others memorized regulation procedures, he learned to make broken things work. He pulled out his grandfather's old trench knife, a relic from humanity's ancient wars, and began preparing his defenses. The moon's twin suns set in a blaze of copper and crimson, painting the battlefield in shades of dried blood. Webb worked through the twilight, his movements deliberate despite the fear gnawing at his gut. He strung tripwires across likely approach routes, rigged improvised claymore mines from grenades and scrap metal, and turned his small section of trench into a maze of overlapping kill zones. By midnight, the first alien scouts began their approach. Webb huddled behind a reinforced section of the trench wall, sipping lukewarm coffee from his cracked thermos, the same one his sister had given him before deployment. The liquid tasted like battery acid, but it kept his hands steady. Through his night vision scope, he watched the Keth'var advance 6-legged predators moving with liquid grace, their adaptive camouflage making them nearly invisible against the lunar terrain. They communicated through ultrasonic clicks, assuming human ears couldn't detect their battle. Webb smiled grimly. His hearing aids, damaged in the retreat, had been stuck on the wrong frequency setting for hours. The Keth'var sounded like chattering birds. The first scout reached the outer perimeter at 01 to 7 hours. Webb's proximity sensor chirped once barely audible over the wind. He counted heartbeats, watching the alien creep closer to his first surprise. The improvised mine detonated in a brilliant flash, sending shrapnel screaming through the night. The scout's death shriek cut across the battlefield like a blade. Webb was already moving, rolling to a new position as return fire cratered the trench wall where he'd been hiding. "Contact at Trench 7. Vashka's report crackled through the command channel. "Multiple human defenders engaging our advanced scouts." Keth'var's eyes narrowed. "Multiple? How many?" "Unknown, War Commander. Heavy resistance. Recommend probe attack to determine strength." Webb crouched behind a pile of sandbags, his breath forming vapor clouds in the thin atmosphere. His first trap had worked perfectly, but now they knew he was here. He could hear them moving out, their clicking, chittering, closing in like a pack of hungry wolves. The second wave came 30 minutes later. 8 Keth'var warriors, moving in a classic pincer formation. Webb had studied their tactics during the academy, memorizing their preferred assault patterns, while his classmates dozed through xenobiology lectures. Now that knowledge might keep him alive. He triggered his second trap as they crossed the wire chain of linked charges that turned 50 meters of approach terrain into a smoking crater. The concussion knocked him flat, his ears ringing, but he forced himself upright in time to see 2 survivors scrambling for cover. Webb's rifle barked twice. The survivors stopped scrambling. Impossible. Keth'var slammed his fist against the command console, cracking the hardened crystal display. 10 warriors cannot be defeated by a single human whelp. Perhaps there are more than we estimated, Vashka suggested. Hidden bunkers, concealed firing positions. Send another probe. Double the force. I want to know exactly what we're facing. Webb reloaded with shaking hands. His ammunition counter showed 37 rounds remaining for his primary weapon, plus whatever he could scavenge from the growing pile of alien corpses. He'd already claimed to Keth'var plasma rifles, their biometric locks disabled with careful applications of his trench knife. The third wave arrived just before dawn. 20 warriors supported by hover drones and mobile artillery. They came in fast and hard, plasma bolts turning the air around Webb's position into superheated hell. He belly-crawled through the trench system, using every fold and depression for cover, popping up to fire precise bursts before vanishing again. The aliens had superior technology, better armor, and overwhelming firepower. But Webb had home field advantage and the desperate fury of a cornered animal. He used their own weapons against them, turned their advanced sensors into liabilities with well-placed EMP charges, and made every meter of ground cost them blood. When the sun finally rose over the battlefield, painting the lunar landscape in harsh white light, Webb was still alive, barely. His left arm hung useless, plasma burned through the sleeve. His face was streaked with alien ichor and human blood. His rifle was empty, its barrel warped from overheating. But he was standing. The killing field around Trench 7 told its own story. Dozens of Keth'var corpses littered the approaches, their adaptive camouflage flickering weakly in the dawn light. Burning hover drones sent black smoke spiraling into the thin atmosphere. The very rocks had been melted and reformed by the intensity of the firefight. Keth'var stared at the battlefield through his tactical display, his compound eyes reflecting the orange glow of flames. In 40 years of warfare, across 17 conquered worlds, he had never seen anything like this. One human, one primitive, coffee-stained human, had held an entire battalion at bay. War Commander, Vashka's voice, was barely above a whisper. The troops are ... unsettled. They speak of a human demon, a creature that cannot be killed. For the first time in his military career, Keth'var felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. Order a tactical withdrawal. Mark that position as a killing zone. We will find another route. Webb heard the alien engines retreating and allowed himself to collapse against the trench wall. His hands were still shaking, but now from exhaustion rather than fear. He pulled out his thermos and discovered, impossibly, that there was still coffee left. It tasted like victory. The rescue shuttles arrived 3 hours later, their pilots expecting to find another mass grave. Instead, they found Private Marcus Webb sitting calmly in his trench, cleaning his grandfather's knife with methodical precision. The bodies of his enemies stretched out before him like some ancient offering to the gods of war. Holy Mother of ... Flight Lieutenant Rodriguez cut himself off, staring at the carnage. Webb, Marcus Webb. What the hell happened here? Webb looked up, his coffee-stained uniform now decorated with burns, blood, and the respect of every human who would hear his story. They said to hold the line, sir, so I held it. The news spread through human space like wildfire. One cadet dismissed as clumsy, overlooked, forgotten had transformed a simple defensive position into the stuff of nightmares. The Keth'var, who had conquered worlds with casual efficiency, now spoke his sector designation in hushed tones. Killing Zone 7. But Webb himself remained unchanged. He still spilled coffee on his uniform, still stumbled occasionally during parade formations, still preferred improvised solutions to regulation procedures. The difference was that now, when instructors spoke of human ingenuity and adaptability, they had a name to attach to those qualities. In the cold depths of space, aboard vessels belonging to a dozen different species, soldiers and civilians alike began to understand something fundamental about humanity. They were not the strongest species in the galaxy, nor the most technologically advanced, nor the most numerous, but they possessed something that could not be quantified in military reports or tactical analyses. They possessed the ability to transform fear into legend, weakness into strength, and a simple trench into a killing zone that would be remembered long after the stars themselves had grown cold. The galaxy had thought humans were fragile, but even the weakest among them could rewrite the very definition of what it meant to stand your ground. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel and support us so we can post new videos every day. Your support means the world.